And staying with Iran, let's turn to Jonathan Schanzer. He's the Senior Vice President for Research at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, how significant is this statement from European leaders?
Well, it's significant because the Europeans have been doing everything they can to try to hold fast to this deal. I mean, the deal has been sort of held together with duct tape, of course, because of Donald Trump's decision to exit in 2018, but also because of the multiple violations we've seen on the part of Iran. And more recently, we have seen Iran begin to enrich uranium at higher levels. And they themselves have said that they are deliberately violating the deal. And that's, of course, what has prompted the Europeans to take this step.
Yeah, I have this for you. Why do you think they're making this decision now after all of these years? I think, so much has played out over the years, and then it feels like all of this is a full stop now. Why now?
Well, I think for a few reasons. I mean, number one, you saw these attacks in Iraq. Tensions are at an all-time high. You've got the enrichment of uranium that the Iranians have basically said that they are now engaging in, which was a big no-no according to the deal. I think also you have the beginning of these sunsets coming. So you have the end of the arms embargo coming soon. You've got ballistic missiles coming in a few years. You can start to feel the pressure here. I think this is almost an admission of what everybody already knows, which is that this deal is not going to stay in place.
Okay, and we have to ask from an American perspective, how will Europe's decision to trigger this dispute mechanism impact the tension between the U.S. and Iran?
Well, I think it's certainly not going to help things. The Iranians are already feeling a great deal of pressure as a result of the killing of Qasem Soleimani. This really knocked out a huge component of their foreign policy and meddling across the Middle East. So they're weaker as a result of that. We're certainly seeing a great deal of pressure added on the Iranian economy. You had new sanctions imposed in the aftermath of that skirmish in Iraq. With new sanctions on the way, the Iranian economy is really groaning under the weight of these sanctions, and I would expect to see new measures against the financial sector perhaps in the next couple of weeks or couple of months. So it's not going to help things in terms of the tension. I think the real question right now is whether the Iranians are so desperate that they may lash out again against the United States, or if they're going to kind of turn inward, try to sort out the problems that we're seeing at home with the protesters, and perhaps wait to fight another day with the United States. It's a very volatile situation and very difficult to predict.
Jonathan, I want to ask you this. I was looking on Twitter earlier here. We saw this from a reporter saying that the Ayatollah is reportedly going to give a sermon at Friday prayers, reportedly the first time he's going to do so since 2011. Do you see any correlation here? If so, what's your take?
Look, what we're looking at right now are massive protests that are taking place across Iran. It's a rejection by the Iranian people of Iran's foreign policy. Their foreign policy has been an aggressive one where they're spending tens or hundreds of millions of dollars abroad to try to destabilize neighboring countries. This is not resonating with the people at home who are wondering why their economy is buckling under the weight of U.S. Sanctions. And now they're watching this nuclear deal fall apart, which is going to basically destroy whatever was left of the inducements that the Europeans were providing. So the people are very unhappy. And on top of that, Iran's foreign policy infrastructure, that policy of meddling abroad, is collapsing. So I think the Supreme Leader feels the need to address the protests. I think he probably needs to try to address the question of the very stability of the Iranian regime. And so I think that in large part explains his decision to come out and give this sermon.
We'll see what else he addresses in the coming days. Jonathan Schanzer, Senior Vice President for Research at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you very much.